Good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I like my music. It means a lot to me. I like albums, singles, EPs, compilations. I love it all. I love all the formats. CDs, LPs, cassette, mini disc, MP3, AAC, flat, iLAC, DSD. It's all good, man. I love it all. But there are a few tracks out there and releases that kind of just boggle the mind. And over the years, I've ended up wrestling with them in my mind. Yeah, wrestling. Do you get it? Do you get it? And today's opponent is this album. The Rolling Stones No.2. The Rolling Stones No.2. It is the second UK album by the Rolling Stones. And I picked this up second-hand in a record store, but it is in pretty much mint condition. Whoever had this previously really looked after it. I mean, it is immaculate. Plays well. And it sounds great as well. But the beef is not really any of the tracks or the how it sounds or pressing, anything like that. It's actually to do with the packaging and the labeling. Now, you see on the back here, it says mono. Make it back to front. But pulling it out of the sleeve, it says stereo on both sides. I hope that's in focus. Now, trust me, it says stereo. So, of course, I was like, well, this is obviously a later pressing, and they must have put the stereo versions on here. But listening to it, and I've listened to it a few times, and I even listened to it with headphones just to double check, unless there's something wrong with my ears. These all sound in mono to me. So I had to do a little bit more research, and I've got a fantastic book, which is pretty much an encyclopedia by Bill Whiteman, called Rolling with the Stones. This book, Rolling with the Stones, Bill Wyman, he kept everything he could back in the day from the group. Photos, letters, all sorts of stuff the rest of the band didn't even give a second thought about. He kept it all. And so he's a pretty reliable source when it comes to their releases and the dates and whatnot. And it says in here that the Rolling Stones' very first stereo release was Out of Our Heads. So anything prior to that was in mono. So there's that to start off with. So I tried doing some research for this on Discog, and it's pretty hard to find. There's so many versions, but there was a comment, someone saying that the recording they did in Chess or somewhere else in America, they were done in stereo and they've been put on here. But as I say, I can't hear anything stereo because it's quite distinctive to hear stereo tracks from bands back in the 60s, because back then everything was pretty much recorded on 4-track, and so you'd have to dedicate certain instruments and vocals, whatever, to a track, and to get them all in, a number of tracks would be baked in onto the same track. Like so, for example, drums and bass on track 1, guitars on track 2, vocals on track 3, backing vocals on track 4. And then when you spread them out to a stereo image, say you've got drums and bass baked in on track 1, if you move that all the way to the left, the bass and the drums go together. You can't separate them. Not back then. Now with today's technology, that's what they're doing with the Beatles. And like with the Beatles, most groups in the 60s, they were clearly not thinking about stereo. It was mono in mind, especially like when you hear the Beatles stereo versions. You've got all the instruments panned onto the left and the vocals are all on the right, and it just sounds pretty bad. And yeah, the first 2 albums were only done on 2 tracks as opposed to 4. But this happened right up to Revolver, which was 4-track, and it still had the voices panned separately and the instruments on the other side. And it just, so you can tell when something's in stereo. The Stone stereo mixes were a little bit better. They might have had stereo in mind a bit more, just more conscious, because usually mixed vocals was pretty centered. But you can usually hear the drums, usually on the left or the right. There's none of that here. It's all bed down the middle. It's all in mono. Now, trying to find a release date for this. And as you can see, the label doesn't replicate any of the original labels. And I did manage to find a Grease pressing from 1981 that had a similar label, similar colors, but not the identical printing on it. So I'm kind of guessing this is 1981, but this does appear on Discogs at the bottom with an unknown date, but it says UK Europe release. And in the notes it just says mono on the back, but stereo on the label. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's the case. It's just mono. And you think early 80s, things like mono and analog were becoming almost an embarrassment as the future technology was all stereo, 32 tracks, digitals becoming in. A couple of years later, and they were probably looking to work that and implement it into the studios probably around that time. So even though this is an analog pressing, they were just trying to, the whole hype of, yeah, it's stereo. And who knows, probably got, I don't know. But it's false marketing, but that happens all the time, as you've seen in some of my other videos. I do actually have another version, which is a mono version, and this is not hiding it, it's actually celebrating it. Just caught a hair in there. But again, it's the same. You got the mono on the back there, but it also, like the original, has mono up there. But this is a late release. This is a 2023 release. And this one's actually cut from DSD. And yeah, they sound the same. There's no different mixes. The only difference is that, like I say, this one's DSD, which stands for Direct Stream Digital. And this one is all analog. So yeah, there's no stereo tracks on there whatsoever. Just more marketing BS. But hey, I would like to know if there's any more out there like that. I'm sure there is. You've got an album that said it's mono, and maybe it's stereo and it is stereo, or vice versa. Or the same situation here where it's just mono, but they've just got some stereo gimmicking on it. I'd like to know. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you goodbye. And I'll see you in another video. Until then, cheerio.